Om. 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 Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamārambhām Shankaracharya-madhyamām Asmadacharya-paryantām Vande Guru-paramparam. Shruti-smriti-purāṇānaṁ Ālayam Karuణālayam Namāmi Bhagavat-pāda Shankaram Lokashankaram. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Hari. So far, we have seen the general qualifications necessary for the seeker. Those qualifications are like Medhavi, Vidwan, etc. General qualifications. And then the specific qualifications such as Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. Even if Mumukshutvam is not very intense or very strong, say it is just dull or mediocre, Manda Madhyama Rupapi Vairagyena Shamadina Prasadena Guroho Seyam Pravriddha Suyate Palam. Even if they were, of the Manda Madhyama category, even then, it can be developed and intensified through dispassion and the sixfold disciplines, service to the Guru, and thereby the Guru's grace falls on you. When Vairagyam cha Mumukshutvam Tibram Yasyutu Vidyate Tasmin Evartavantah Syuhu Palavantah Shamadayah. Dispassion from all other things and desire for moksha are there, the other qualifications will become fruitful. But if etayoho mandata yatra viraktatva mumukshayoho marau salilavati tatra shamadehe bhana matrata. Vairagyam and mumukshutvam are dull, then self-control will be a mere appearance, like mirage waters. It will be superficial and shallow. And so we must see to it that we develop these qualities. And he also says, for this moksha prapti, another means of utmost importance is bhakti. I introduced the topic of bhakti last class in verse 31, and we will continue further today. But first, let us read that verse again. Verse 31. Mokshakaranasamagriyam bhaktireva gariyasi स्वस्वरूपानुसन्धानं भक्तिरित्यभिधीयते मोक्षकारणसामग्र्यं भक्तिरेव गरीयसी स्वस्वरूपानुसन्धानं bhaktiretyabhidhiyate. Now, bhakti, devotion to God, it is associated with karma yoga, upasana yoga, jnana yoga. However, when you talk about the sambandha, a relationship of these three to moksha prapti, karma and upasana have a parampara sambandha. It is a sequential. Most of the karma and upasana bhakti preparation in nature, whereas jnana has a sakshat sambandha, direct connection to moksha. Therefore, Shankaracharya says that bhakti in the form of jnana yoga is a very important sadhana. So here he focuses on the highest level of bhakti, which is in the form of jnana yoga, not karma or upasana. Now, jnana yoga is the path of inquiry, knowledge, consisting of shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam. The consistent systematic study under a guru, that is called shravanam. And reflecting upon the teaching until I get convinced in it is called mananam. Then assimilating the teaching and abiding in it is called nididhyasanam. And that should result in transforming my lifestyle. There should be a change in my life. There should be a transformation. Therefore, assimilation leading to transformation in life is called jnana yoga. In Sanskrita, it is called Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. In English, we can call it scriptural inquiry. So therefore, Shankaracharya here emphasizes scriptural study, which is called bhakti, the highest level of bhakti. So keep that in mind. Don't confine your understanding to just the devotion that we normally think of. Now look at the verse. Moksha karana samagryam. The group of sadhanas. Samagryam refers to the group. Why do we say group? Because Viveka is a part of moksha, vairagyam, samadhi shatka sampatti, mumukshutva. So many sadhanas are involved. So all of them put together is called a group. In the group of preparatory steps, samagryam, which are all moksha karanam. They are all means to moksha, either directly or indirectly. The most direct, the most important, the most proximate, the closest. Bhakti eva, devotion alone is gariyasi, highest. Here, highest means the closest, the most proximate. Once he uses the word bhakti, we will have a question. We said bhakti refers to 3 levels of sadhana. Karma yoga form of bhakti, upasana yoga form of bhakti, the scriptural study form of bhakti. So which form of bhakti does he refer to here? Reading this line, one will say bhakti is important. So one person will say, let's start bhajan. Second person will get ready to go to Sabarimala. Another one will say, bhakti is meditation. Therefore, let me close my eyes here and now meditate. But Shankaracharya defines the bhakti in this context to avoid such confusions and says, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam, dwelling upon, and that indicates Shravanam, Nididhyasanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. So, dwelling upon Swaswarupa, one's own true nature. We're not talking about a Rama, Devi, Vinayaka, or Ayyappa. We are not talking about Saguna Upasana. They are all at the other levels of bhakti. The Karma Yoga level, you have all those gods. Upasana level, you have those gods. But the highest level of bhakti, it is the inquiry into the very self. When you say inquiry into oneself, one may think this is a study of anatomy. No. That self we are not talking about. So he uses the word swaswarupam. We are not talking about the individual superficial layers, talking about the physical, physiological, or mental. We are not talking about all. We are not talking about the Sthula Sharira inquiry. We are not talking about the Sukshma Sharira inquiry. We are not even talking about the Karana Sharira inquiry. We have to go through all of them, but ultimately we are dealing with Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatirikta Avastatraya Sakshi Panchakosha Vilakshana Sachidananda Swarupa. That nature we are talking about. Of course, we will make the Sthula Sharira inquiry. Investigate into what is the Annamaya Kosha. We will do that. But not as an end in itself. Like a student of anatomy, that is what he or she wants to understand the physical aspects of it. But when we say Sthula Sharira inquiry, it is only a stepping stone. Our aim is not to dwell upon them. Understand what they are, the limitations are, and move further. Similarly, when we do mind inquiry, Manomaya Kosha, when we talk about that, again, we try to understand the nature of the mind, etc., and then go on. So, to indicate that, Bhashyakara uses the word Swaswarupam. Atma is the Swarupam. One's nature is Atma, and that is beyond the Anatma. Now, problem is this. How can you dwell upon Atma Because Atma is never available as an object. It's not an object. This is the biggest challenge that we have. Atma Chaitanyam, consciousness, is not available clearly or that easily for study. We can study the brain. We can look into the body as a whole or into its various organs like the heart, the lungs, the kidney, etc. But what will you do for consciousness? Can you take a needle and do a biopsy on a piece of consciousness and do some pathology work? Not possible. So science can investigate into matter. The biggest problem science faces is how to study consciousness. Scientists are confused about it. Even today, they even have difficulty to put it in what branch of science. Psychology, physiology. Huh? Where do I put it to investigate? Is consciousness some brain activity or something else, mental activity? They don't know. Therefore, consciousness is unfortunately not available even for conception or perception. Then how do you study it? Then many people close their eyes and keep saying, who am I, who am I, who am I, who am I? I'm inquiring into the self. I'm inquiring into who I am. That would not help. So remember, dwelling upon the self means dwelling upon the scriptures, digging into what the scriptures say, because scriptures serve like a mirror in looking at my own nature as consciousness. I repeatedly give you this example. I cannot see my eyes directly. None of you can have seen your eyes directly. If you want to see how our eyes look, I have only one method, that is to use a mirror. When I am looking into a mirror, it would look as though I am looking outside. Fact is, I am not looking outside, I am looking into myself only. Similarly, scriptural inquiry is not an objective inquiry. It is not looking into Atma as an object. Scripture is like a mirror only, which reflects and talks about the very subject, Atma Swarupam. Therefore, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam means scriptural inquiry. Atma Vichara is equal to Shastra Vichara. There is no Atma Vichara without Shastra. There is no self-inquiry without scriptural inquiry. Hence, this inquiry, bhaktihi iti abhidiyate. This is what is called bhakti. This is what Bhashyakara Shankaracharya calls bhakti in this context. So please understand what bhakti means in this context. This bhakti alone, in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Bhagavan calls it Jnana Yajna. All other yajna means worship also. So in the fourth chapter, various forms of worship, various forms of yajnas was talked about. All other yajna like puja, various yagas, and other things like pilgrimages, they are all called yajnas, and they are all expressions of your bhakti. But among various expressions of bhakti, Bhagavan Sri Krishna includes jnana yajna. Hence it is a puja. But he also says, Shreyan Dravyamayat Yajnat Jnana Yajna Parantapa. Scriptural study is the highest form of worship. This is also one of the forms of worship. And according to Bhagavan, this is the greatest form of worship. And that is what Shankaracharya is referring to here. Therefore, bhakti iti abhidiyate. Self-inquiry is the highest form of bhakti. Continuing. स्वात्मतत्त्वानुसन्धानम् स्वात्मतत्त्वानुसन्धानम् भक्तिरित्यपरे जगुः भक्तिरित्यपरे जगुः उक्तसाधनसम्पन्नः उक्तसाधनसम्पन्नः तत्त्वजिज्ञासुरात्मनः तत्त्वजिज्ञासुरात्मनः उपासीदेद्गुरुं प्राज्ञम् उपासीदेद्गुरुं प्राज्ञम् यस्माद्बन्धविमोक्षणम् यस्माद्बन्धविमोक्षणम् स्वात्मतत्त्वानुसन्धानम् भक्तिरित्यपरे जगुः उक्तसाधनसम्पन्नः तत्त्वजिज्ञासुरात्मनः उपासीदेद्गुरुं प्राज्ञम् यस्माद्बन्धविमोक्षणम्. Now in the first line, he gives another definition for bhakti. It's almost the same as the previous definition. There is only a very, very subtle technical difference. Swaswarupa Anusandhana means self-inquiry, otherwise called the Jivatma Vichara. The self here means the individual self, the Jivatma. So that was the first definition. Here in the second definition, he wants to make it more precise. Therefore, he says, mere Jivatma inquiry is not enough. How do you know whether the inquiry is proper and sufficient? Does inquiry mean reading one shloka and its meaning one day? Does it mean that? Let me give you one example. I say you should walk to reach the other end of the hall. So walking is important to reach the other end of the hall. And but never reach the other end of the hall. You say, I have walked but never reached the other end of the hall. But you walked in the opposite direction. What is important is also the direction. That is one person. Another person comes in and says, I walked in the right direction also, but did not reach. He took only 10 steps, and to get to the other end required 100 steps. So you need to be proceeding in the right direction and to the right extent. Both are required. Therefore, he wants to make this very clear in this definition. Therefore, what is the extent and the direction of the Jivatma inquiry? How much is required? So the Jivatma inquiry must culminate in the discovery of the identity of the Jivatma with Paramatma. Please understand this point very clearly. And this is what the Shastras are talking about. The identity of Jivatma and Paramatma. Your inquiry is not complete unless and until you discover that identity. Suppose a person does the inquiry for 25 years and says, I've understood this Jivatma is of this nature and Paramatma is of a different nature. Then all that inquiry is useless. So he says, Swatma Tattva Anusandhana. Tattva, the word Tattva should be understood as thatness. Tat, that refers to Brahman. Therefore, Tattva means Brahmatvam. Tattva means Brahmatvam, Brahmanhood. Thus, Swatma Tattvam means discovering the Brahmanhood of oneself. One must understand, I, the Jivatma, is Brahman. Only then the inquiry is complete. So the first definition is self-inquiry, is bhakti. Then Swatma Tattva Anusandhanam, inquiry into the Brahmanhood of the self. Bhakti hi iti apare jaguhu. Apare, others, say bhakti. This is the second definition. In short, scriptural study culminating in that knowledge of Jiva Brahmaikyam, that is bhakti. You should remember Ukta Sadhana Sampanna, one who has gone through the previous preparatory steps that we have covered so far, the basic general qualifications, and then the specific Sadhana Chatushraya Sampatti also. In these two verses, 31 and 32, it is said, he should be a Tattva Jignasu, one who wants to practice bhakti, the self-inquiry, to know Atmanaha Tattva, the essence, the truth of Atman, the Swatma Swasva Anusandhanam, one who wants to know his own Brahmanhood. Now, what is next? He says, scriptural study is impossible without the guidance of a guru. So we have emphasized the scriptural study and how to go about doing that study. And such a study is impossible without a guru. And anything, if one undertakes that, it will not be fruitful also. All our scriptures uniformly emphasize the necessity of a guru. Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the 4th chapter again says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinah. Verse 34. Mundakopanishad also says, Tad vijnanartam sa gurumeva abhigacche. Samitpanihi Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. May you approach a guru. So, Guru Upasadanam, going to a guru and studying, is emphasized in all our scriptures. Very cannot do it without. There may be some spiritual prodigies who did not have a guru. Okay? So when we talk about this, invariably somebody says, so and so did not have a guru. Okay? They are exceptions. They are very rare. For majority of us, that is not the case. So don't give exceptions as an argument. So Shankaracharya says, Gurum upaside. May you go to a guru. So a seeker, Gurum upaside, should go to a guru who is a prajna, a jnani. If there is an ajnani guru, he will distribute ajnana only. Therefore, here we are talking about prajna jnani guru. Literally, the word guruhu means grinati upadishati iti guruhu. It is derived from the root gr, to communicate. The one who has the unique method of communicating Brahman, which cannot be communicated through mere words. So he is called the Guru, the master communicator. The one who is sitting in Maunam can never be a Guru. Therefore, the basic qualification for a Guru is that he should not be a Mauna. When we say Mauna is the method of communication, it has got other significance. Again, Mauna Guru and all that, you will come across. All right? But don't give those as example. We will see about that in another context. So the Guru must be a good communicator. He should be a prajna, informed. Hence, he has the knowledge and he also should know how to transfer that knowledge. He must have both talents. He's skillful in both. There are many people who have the talent of communication. But they do not have anything in there to communicate. Then there are others who know, but they don't know how to communicate what they know. So, very rare to get a guru who is capable of both. You must go to a guru who has both abilities. Yasmad bandha vimokshanam, because by going to such a guru alone, there will be freedom from bondage. Therefore, the next preparation is Guru Upasadanam, approaching a guru. Vivekacu will take you slowly, step by step by step by step. General qualification, specific qualification, a need for scriptural study. How to do that? We need a guru. How to approach the guru? Slowly. That is where we are now. Guru Upasadana. Let us read verse 33. श्रोत्रियो वृजिनो कामहतः श्रोत्रियो वृजिनो कामहतः यो ब्रह्मवित्तमः ब्रह्मण्युपरतः शान्तः ब्रह्मण्युपरतः शान्तः निरीन्दिन इवानलः निरीन्धन इवानलः अहेतुकदया सिन्धुः अहेतुकदया सिन्धुः बन्धुरानमतां सताम् बन्धुरानमतां सताम् श्रोत्रियोर्वृजिनो कामहतः यो ब्रह्मवित्तमः ब्रह्मण्युपरतः शान्तः निरीन्धन इवानलः अहेतुकदया सिन्धुः बन्धुरानमतां सताम्. So in this verse, Bhashyakara is talking about the qualifications of the teacher. We had talked about the qualifications that are required for the student. Now, how about the teacher? What should be his qualifications? So first he mentions Shrotriya, one who has studied the scriptures. And he should have studied the scriptures under a guru. So Shrotriya is the primary qualification of a guru. This indicates that this is one of the most important qualifications. A Shishya alone can become a guru. If you want to be a guru, you should be a Shishya first. Or anybody calling himself a guru should have been a Shishya before. Once again, we accept there are certain rare cases where some people become jnanis without having a guru. Exceptions, what we call prodigies. And even those exceptional cases, some of them, they've had a guru sometime or the other. Vamadeva Rishi, Garbhayeva etat shayano Vamadeva evam uvacha. Some exceptions are given, and we say that without a guru, a rare person may become a jnani, and therefore he is a Mahatma, he is a Jivan Mukta, he is a glorious person, worth worshipping. But in most cases, even in such situations, they may not be able to function as a guru. We do not question their jnanam. We do not question that he is a Jivan Mukta. We do not question his greatness to bless us. I can go do namaskara, I can keep his photo, I can do everything except one thing. Never take him as a guru. Since he was a genius, he never came in the regular path to gain jnana. So he does not know the regular path by which an ordinary person has to travel. So a genius in any field, very difficult for them to become the best teacher. For example, an ordinary person requires many steps to solve a mathematical problem. If a mathematical genius is given the same problem, he will skip so many steps and arrive at the final answer. And it's so clear to him. In any field, a genius generally cannot make the best teacher. So Shastra is very careful. You worship all such Mahatmas, not a problem. But when it comes to choose a guru, make sure that he has been a Shishya. Find out how he gained this knowledge. Therefore, Shrotriya means Shrutartha Sampannah, the one who has done Shravanam. The second reason for this is that the scriptures talk about the systematic method of communication. Very systematically communicating about Brahman. Because that Brahman cannot be communicated, cannot be described, cannot be defined. When we say Brahman cannot be communicated, we mean it cannot be communicated in the normal, regular method. But scriptures point out that it can be done if an appropriate method is used. Such a method is a traditional method called sampradaya. The scriptures use that kind of sampradaya. That is the key. So if a person has not studied in the traditional way, then he would not have that sampradaya and all his statements would become mystical statements. And such jnanis who do not have that sampradaya, we call mystics, siddha purusha. And sometimes they make statements which will be equally mysterious. Those statements will be meaningful to them, but it may not communicate to us. So Shankaracharya says the first qualification is Shrotriya, one who has done, one who has studied the scriptures under a guru. Then the next qualification is Avrijanaha, the one who is pure, Papa Rahitaha, Adharma Rahitaha, the one who has the values mentioned in the scriptures. Amanitvam, Madambitvam, Mahimsa, Shantihi. So many of those we saw in the Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 16th chapter. Daivi Sampat. So the guru should be like that. One who is not immoral, the one who does not lead an immoral life, one who does not lead an unethical life. He is a moral person, ethical person, dharmic person, he is pure. Avrijana, pure. The third qualification is Akamahatah, the one who does not have any expectations out of the student. Expectations out of the student means don't think he doesn't care whether the student learns or not, like that. Anything in return, any material return, that is what I mean, expectations from the student. He does not want to teach for the sake of money, make the student his client. He is not looking for a status as a teacher of a celebrity. The Hollywood celebrities, sports celebrities, all of them, they have a spiritual guru also. He doesn't want to become one like that. That's not his motivation or intention. Akamahatah means one who does not have any such motive or ulterior motives or expectations like that. So if the guru expects to receive something from the student, then he will not be able to tell the truth as it is. And he would think, maybe if I say, the student may be offended. He may pack up and leave. So to tell the truth freely, a person must be fearless. To be fearless, he should not depend upon any person or anything in the society. Therefore, akamahatah is kama-rahitah. He doesn't have any such desires, material desires. Therefore, he is bhaya-rahitah, is fearless. Because his aim is to tell the truth. Just the facts. That's it. So this is also an important qualification. Then Brahma Vittamah, the one who is Brahma Sthita Prajna. We use the Gita word, Sthita Prajna. See in the second chapter. One who is the Sthita Prajna. One who has a clear knowledge, firm knowledge. Sthira Prajna, Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna established in that knowledge. Sthira Prajna, firm knowledge. If Aham Brahmasmi is vague, if the Guru cannot say with conviction, Aham Brahmasmi, how can you tell the student, Tattvamasi, that you are? If I have to tell the student that you are Brahman, it is possible one and only if it is very clear for me that I am Brahman. Therefore, he must be ajnana rahita, free of ignorance. He must be samshaya rahita. His knowledge should be free from all doubts. He is a Brahmavit, not only that, Brahmavittamah, the suffix tamah, superlative degree, indicates that his knowledge is the best. Then the next qualification is Brahmani Uparatah, the one who abides in Brahman. His own nature, Atmanyeva Atmanatushtaha, total satisfaction he has. So his satisfaction does not depend on any external factors. If my satisfaction depends upon external factors, there is an anxiety to hold on to them. When there is no dependence at all, the mind is totally anxiety free. This is called Uparatah, the mind that has subsided, which has resolved, which is totally tranquil. So Brahmani Uparatah means abiding in Brahman. Another word is Brahmanishtaha, one who is established in Brahman, one who abides in Brahman. So we talked about Shrotriya before. Now we talk about Brahmanishtaha. Then only Shantah, tranquility. He is at peace in his mind and with others. A beautiful example is given. Nirindanaha Ivanalaha, like the embers of the fire in which further fuel is not added. When you add the fuel, what happens to the fire? It blazes. So imagine two types of fire. One, you add various things, then flames of fire come forth, asking for more and more. Another one, you do not add any fuel, it is without any flames. Similarly, the mind is compared to the fire. Our mental disturbances are compared to the flames of the fire. The disturbance-less mind is the flameless fire in the form of embers. The kashaya vasra, the ochre robe, the orange color of the dress of a sannyasi, is like that embers, that wantless state of mind. Is like nirindana analaha, the fuel-less fire is indicated by this particular orange color. If he does not have any need, if he is happy with himself, what will be the motive behind his teaching? He can remain quiet. So if you ask what is the force which makes him teach, ahetuka daya sindhu. Teaching comes out because of his compassion, which is also not entertained deliberately, but it is very natural. Just as the sun gives out light and energy to the world because it is its very nature. Similarly, for the Guru, when he sees someone who is suffering, in fact, the entire humanity is suffering, samsara is so much, so daya, compassion. Compassion is the motivator. It's not a planned action, it happens. Ahetuka, without any reason, which means very natural, spontaneous compassion. How much compassion? Daya Sindhu. He is an ocean of compassion, causeless compassion. Therefore, only Anamatam, those who surrender to him, Bandhu Satam, he is a friend of the good, noble people. One may ask, is this not a partiality? No, no, no. He is willing to help other people also, but they have to reach out to him. Otherwise, how can he help? So these are beautiful qualifications of a guru, Shrotriya, Brahmanishta, and naturally he will be an ocean of compassion. Om Purnamada Purnamida Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.